The Green Ghost, written by Marion Dane Bauer and illustrated by Peter Ferguson. A stepping stone book published at Random House, New York. Chapter 1. The Cloak. 1938. Papa, look, isn't it beautiful? Lillian breathed the words, long and slow. In the cold air, her breath clouded the store window. She wiped it clear again with the corner of her scarf. The cloak was beautiful. It was dark green wool. The hood and the cloak were lined with velvet. The velvet was pale and silvery green. All that green made Lillian think of a Christmas tree. Not the scraggly junipers Papa always brought home from behind the barn. It made her think of the white pine that stood at the front of the church on Christmas Eve. Lillian's father laid his hands on her shoulders. "The cloak is beautiful," he agreed. "But it's hardly the thing for a girl doing farm chores." "Oh, Papa," Lillian said. But she knew he was right. The cloak hadn't been made for her or for any other farmer's daughter. "It looks so warm," she said. Warm wasn't exactly what she meant, but the word would have to do. Warm, Papa could appreciate. The truth was, the cloak looked like something a lady would wear to a party. Yet, it was sized for a girl. It was perfect size for a 9-year-old girl like her. "Yes," her father agreed gently. "It does look warm." He tugged at her scarf as he spoke, wrapping it closer around her. He might have been reminding her of the love Mama had knit into that scarf. Then his big hands turned her away from the store window. "We must be getting on home, Lily," he said. "Your Mama will have supper waiting, and Ben wants the barn." Ben, their patient plow horse, stood with his head hung low. A blanket of snow covered his wide back. The snow had been falling all day. The countryside was thick with it. Papa helped Lillian into the sleigh. He tucked a warm blanket across her lap, climbed up himself and clucked at Ben. Lillian looked back to check the cloak in the store window once more. Who would have thought their little general store would have anything so fine? She tried to imagine what girl would find it under her Christmas tree. Ruth, the minister's daughter? Maybe Clarissa, whose father owned the town bank. Whoever it was would, no doubt, have a perfect Christmas tree too. She would have as fine a tree as the tall white pine at church. Lillian sighed and snuggled into her father's side. "Are you warm, little one?" he asked. "Warm as toast, Papa," she said. She didn't need a green cloak, not with Papa nearby. Still, she couldn't help it. She had to look back at one last time. The cloak was beautiful. As beautiful as... But the thought stuttered and stopped. Another rose inside her like a dawning sun. So the green cloak hadn't been made for her. That didn't mean she could not have anything beautiful. Junipers weren't the only trees on their farm. The hills that rose on every side were filled with white pines. Those trees were as beautiful as any she'd ever seen at the church. A person had only to walk a bit farther to get one. "Papa," she said. "Yes, Lily," he replied. "May I bring in our Christmas tree this year?" For a long moment her father said nothing. Lillian held perfectly still, waiting. Ben clopped along. The harness creaked. The snow kept falling. "Do you think you are big enough for such a task?" Papa asked at last. I am, Papa, she breathed. I am. He nodded slowly. All right, he said. If it's what you want, you may bring in our tree. Lillian clapped her mittened hands. Then she snuggled even closer to Papa. There's lots of juniper just behind the barn, Papa reminded her. They're close in, and they aren't too heavy for you to carry. I know, Lillian told him. But she knew something else too. She wasn't going to settle for any ugly old juniper. She would bring home the best tree in the forest. Wouldn't her younger brother and sister be thrilled with a tall green tree? Mama and Papa would too. They just didn't know it yet. Lillian looked back in the direction of the green cloak. It would never be hers. She knew that. Still, she smiled.